It's CORSO and Catone. Brought to you by CORSO Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Now for the real deal New England feel. CORSO and Catone.
Welcome into CORSO and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I'm CORSO. Catone is here. Joe is with us in the booth, and you are watching us on YouTube, listening on 790 The Score, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, anywhere you podcast, you're going to catch us. And, of course, send us an email in our mailbag, corso.catone@gmail.com. But if you want to hear your lovely voice, then give us a call and heated hotline, 855-313-PATS, P-A-T-S, 24/7. They're both message lines. Anything's on the table. Have a take, and we will choose yours. Got a good one. Hey, in B's and C's, we keep going through the playoffs. Bruins made it.
Playoff time.
Bruins lasted, so we will talk about that. And, of course, Catone's comments. You never want to miss that. And in Pat's Nation, Brady got blasted. We're going to talk about that roast. A little bit about this GM search. Just a minute on that. And we're going to hear from one of you in Heated Hotline. Joe, today's something different about today.
There is something different. You know what? I think I might be able to answer what the deal is. I think today has that feel of like, I don't know.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, nice. It is.
That's nice.
It is Mr. Catone's birthday today. So, yay. Happy birthday, Mark.
You and I would have lasted about 5 seconds if she was singing that to us. That's the only problem.
You know what? Yeah, exactly. We just said, Joe, go full screen with Mark for a minute. So happy birthday, Mark.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, gentlemen.
How does it feel to be 76 years old today?
Not bad. I'm still
You look
walking.
fantastic for that.
Don't I look good? A lot of Botox, whatever, any other junk they shoot into themselves. Right?
So, you having a big party? What are you going to do, Mark?
I don't know what the heck I'm doing today. Actually, after we tape this, I got to go up and start to move some of my stuff, son's stuff home from college, actually.
So nobody cares then?
Nobody cares. You think they care about me?
No.
They don't care.
No, we just did it to be able to play that video.
I know you. Oh, I know you did. Joe did, anyways.
So today's a special day, and you know what, Mark? Who cares? Who cares? Seriously,
you think they care about us, Chris?
But we do care about the Bruins and the Celtics in the playoffs, don't we? So let's get to that, Joe.
Hit it! The Boston Celtics are the world champions, and they have shown the world how great a ball club they really are.
So, Mark, both teams are still alive, still going in the playoffs. Want to talk Bruins first a little bit. And so they're in their series against Florida, and so they won. They look real good in that first game, and game 2 was just a disaster.
I don't even know what that was, Chris, in game 2.
And we never really even got a chance to talk about that Pasternak goal in game 7. I mean
we haven't.
That was just a franchise. Don't you think? I mean, am I overstating it? It was a kind of a franchise changing moment because they score that goal, they win that game 7. If they don't, it's a different direction. I mean, Montgomery's probably going to get canned.
Well, Montgomery, I think, definitely would have got canned, Chris. Somebody had to pay for that 3-1 2 years in a row. Listen, nobody in the history of sports has blown
North American sports
3-1 leads 2 years in a row. So it would have been monumental. He had to go.
It would have been distinguished that way.
Yeah, he had to go.
Yeah,
they lost.
And who knows if they would have blown it up, if they're making trades, if they're doing all kinds of things. But they win the game, and it seems like they unclinched, didn't they?
Yeah,
Because they were so tight. And so
They
they came
did.
out in game one, they looked good. Game two, Mark right back into them. I mean, so we could talk about the good things in game one, obviously.
Swayman.
Swayman's been fantastic. He was the number one goalie in all of the playoffs so far. And the defense, they buttoned up in their own end. They stopped doing the things that they were doing poorly, getting to loose pucks faster, quicker, first, not getting hemmed down in their own end, blind passes in their own zone to turn the puck over.
Yeah.
And that was great. And they got some scoring, and the young guys played well in that game. You had, Beecher and Brazo and Geeky and Lorai. Those guys showed up. But then game two happens.
But Chris, before we get to game two, I do want to give a little bit of props to Pasternak.
Yeah.
For and the dump in by Lindholm, right, was calculated.
That pass off the board, off the wall.
Pass off the boards was calculated. He knew what he was doing. It wasn't just I'm dumping it. Yeah, he wasn't just I'm dumping it in. He strategically did that, and Pasternak, to his credit, flew down there, beat them down into the zone, and got the puck and scored. Which he should be doing those types of things. I mean, shouldn't he? I mean, come on. But
yeah, I mean, let's
give them credit. And listen, did Toronto, was that a major gaffe on them defensively? It absolutely was, right? It was. But listen, the Bruins still made the play, so let's give them props for that. And now let's talk about the ugly in game two.
Well, and to say, well, maybe Florida was a little sluggish in game one, a little rusty. They had been sitting for a while, perhaps, because you wouldn't want to make that argument first, but now you kind of do, because in game two, we saw them just fall back again on all the bad habits, all the things. And I mean, what was your impression of that game,
Chris? From the second half of the second period through the third period, for a period and a half, they just carried the play. They carried the minutes in the zone like we didn't do anything, Chris.
In Florida,
at one point in Florida, at one point in that second game, Chris, Boston, I think they didn't get a shot off in over 10 minutes, 11 minutes, Chris. Florida just carried the play in that second game. I mean, over 11 minutes without getting a shot on goal in a playoff game?
No. They only had 15 the whole game. 15 shots, Mark, the whole game. 33-15.
And a couple of those shots, 2 or 3 of those shots were at the end, Chris, during garbage time, when Florida kind of let the pedal off the metal a little bit. And so really, they probably only legitimately had maybe like 12 shots, Chris.
The one of the biggest things I'm seeing, and it's just, and it's not surprising, because we've been talking about this all season, the way they play in their own end. Anytime they play a team that wants to get into the corners and tough them out, get tough in the corners, they fold. They can't handle it. They're getting pushed around. They're on their back all the time, literally on their back on the ice. Guys are losing sticks. They can't push it. Look, in game one, they kept everything for Florida out on the perimeter, and they were great inside. They were great interior. In game two, it was just the opposite. They couldn't move anybody. Tkachuk did whatever he wanted in front of Swayman.
He's your favorite player, isn't he, Tkachuk?
I can't stand them. I can't stand Tkachuk. I want somebody to just, I want Maroon to come off the bench and cold cock that son of a bitch right in the friggin' back of the head.
Listen,
I couldn't stand his father.
We are not promoting violence on this show.
In hockey, we are.
Listen, the views of Mr. Corso are not the views of Corso and Catone. I'm going to give a disclaimer.
Hey, I'm not saying it in any other sport. This is a sport they allow fighting. So, you know what? I can't stand him like I couldn't stand his father. That piece
the father. I couldn't stand
Chuck,
the father.
He was another get under your skin real.
Listen, can I ask you a question? How is McAvoy still on the ice, Chris?
Yeah, this is a huge problem. I mean, and was it in game one, the only goal they scored where he screened? He screened Swayman, and Swayman turned and looked at him like,
"What? He screened him.
What was that all about?" And he did it again in game two, where with 1 second left, 0.3, they score a goal going into the ending the second period, right? And he got in front of him, screened him again. Then he gets into the corner. He goes down on his back. He loses his stick. And he's just sloppy, Mark. He fans on the puck. His passes are not tape to tape. He's blind passing in his own end, okay? Going behind the back, not reading the play properly. He's been horrible in these playoffs. And I don't think he's getting enough abuse for that.
No, he's not getting enough abuse. And why a forward couldn't go get that stick for him?
Yeah, I mean, usually when a defenseman loses their stick.
Oh, why did McAvoy just get off the ice?
Yeah, either that or, take a second and get into that corner. I get it.
Sprint off the ice if you have to, and let somebody else come out.
Yeah, there's a few things that could happen. A forward should be handing their stick back to him. That's the first thing that should be happening. Yep. Okay, and then a forward can play because it's a lot easier for a forward or a center to get towards the bench to grab a stick than it is a defenseman who's playing down low. So, yeah, I give that collectively on some of those guys that should have, had wherewithal for that. But this kid is – I don't know if it's in his head. I don't know if there's something wrong with him, but he's playing like crap. And he's played like crap now in 2 series, minus maybe a game.
Chris, the last goal of the second period the game was still a game at 2-1. I thought it was a 0.3 seconds. McAvoy's in front of him, blocking him. He's blocking him from the shot.
He screened Swayman. He screened him. There was no reason for him to be there in that spot. I mean, that guy, that Florida player was throwing a puck on net out of desperation, last second of the period. Boom. That should have been something Swayman saw. Nice and simple, nice and easy. Make a save, even if it's a rebound, the period's over.
Period's over.
Instead, now he's screened by McAvoy, and he gave him that look again. Like, what the hell are you doing in front of me right now? And obviously, you can't bench him. What are you going to do? You can't bench McAvoy at this point. But
no, I was being facetious. Why is he still on the ice? What are we going to do? We don't have a choice.
Needs to happen, and it's contagious because, as I said, Florida's carrying the play. They're down low. They're fighting in the corners. We're not up to that challenge. I mean, the Bruins just can't get that done, and they're sloppy. I mean, the sloppy play in their own in their own end, the sloppy play at the top of their blue line in the offensive zone as to how they're passing the puck and turning it over. It's not acceptable. I don't put any of this on Swayman. Not an ounce of it.
Chris, you want to talk about sloppy play? Didn't they get too many men on the ice? How do you get it? Granted, listen, they killed the penalty. I get it, but it's the playoffs. How do you get a too many men on the ice penalty? Are you kidding me? Really?
Yeah. Listen, and it isn't even one of those situations. And that, by the way, that's like the third one against them this playoffs. And that's on that's coaching too. I mean,
that is coaching.
I'll put this is 90% on the players, all of this that's going on, and 10% on the coach. But you know what? It wasn't even like a penalty where guy is kind of coming off close to the bench, but somebody plays it, the puck hits him. There were 6 guys on the ice. Actually on the ice, and before somebody knew it, it was already called. I mean, that's unacceptable.
Well,
but
Chris,
for what
that's what happens when you get rid of the disciplinarian coach and you bring in this guy, the players coach. They want the players coach.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? They got rid of the disciplinarian. That wouldn't have happened with him on the bench.
And I look, I give him credit for calling out Pasternak and having the eggs to do it.
I did too.
Now it's time to do it to McAvoy. Because he's terrible right now. And again, you can put a lot. You can actually put a lot on him right now because guys. Again, I still like the way the young guys are playing.
The young guys on defense, Chris, are playing very well.
What did you think of the end though of that game too?
Okay, so they did something, and I'm
talking about the melees.
You or I were on the phone watching that happen live, and I said to you, I liked it because that's what they didn't do last year.
Yep.
So I think Boston said, hey, you might have won tonight, but we're not going anywhere. We ain't taking the BS. And they got physical and they started fights all over the ice. They needed to do that in game like 3 or 4 last year when they blew that lead, and they didn't. So I liked it, Chris. It let Florida know we're not going anywhere. We're here. You're in for a fight. So
you should have heard me on the phone with Mark.
I liked it. He wanted somebody to smack Kachuk in the back of the head with the stick.
Listen, I give my hats off to Pasternak. Okay, this is not a guy. I mean, this guy has no business fighting anybody. But you know what?
But he got the okay from the coach. He said, "I'm going out there to fight him." And kudos to the coach. He said, "Go ahead."
And he knew he was going to get his ass kicked. He knew it. But you know what? He put the A on his chest. Yep. And he went out there and said, "You know what? No more. I can't deal with this. We're going to send a message. We're still here in this series."
Well, you're right, Chris. Maroon needs to go out there and smack him next game.
Absolutely. So Swayman gets the start. I mean, is there any question about that?
Well, Omar, you put Omar in, Chris. He was a little rusty, obviously, but he didn't belong. You could. There was a clear difference between the two goalies last night, Chris. You can't start Omar again.
You got to play Swayman, and that's it because it's not his fault.
That's it.
And that's it. So yeah. Listen. We'll see what happens as we go on the series. We'll talk a lot about it next week as well. And we're going to go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk Celtics. But this portion of Corso and Catone was presented by Corso and Catone, right? By the show, Mark. Saturday, 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you get on. Watch it all. Sponsorships are available. Hey, stick around. Celtics talk is next.
I'm seriously. I think I lost my mind.
Certainly, it was an exciting show.
I want Murray.
That's
it.
What is wrong with you?
Get him on this damn show.
You lost your mind tonight.
That's all I have to say.
Lost your mind.
What are you writing now?
So I'm working over here. You're talking about nonsense. I'm working.
That's why we are the real deal New England Field. It's going to be real.
Okay, so Mark, they're in this series against Cleveland. And I know, what everyone thinks, what we think about Cleveland and the level of competition in the East. Okay, that the Celtics should blow through the East and get to the final. And we'll talk about that in a second about the push. Are they getting pushed enough?
Yeah.
But talking about, break down the series, but break down them. What are they doing right? I mean, because look, you can say the opponent stinks. They shouldn't be on the same court with them. But there are things I'm seeing out of the Celtics right now that are impressive, and I think could carry over to a better opponent. They're doing what they should do, which is kicking the crap out of the teams they should.
They're beating the teams they should be beating, Chris. They're moving the ball around. They're driving to the basket. They're playing physical defense. And the big thing, Chris, is the bench is stepping up. And that's important because that can be the difference against a Western Conference team, Chris, because I think our bench is better than Denver's. Understandably, Minnesota brings guys at you in waves, but the bench, Chris, and I still, Chris, say it, and I'm going to continue to say it, and you've been saying this all year long, the difference this year is going to be the combination of White and Holiday and what they're doing defensively, moving the ball, shooting, getting guys involved. That's going to be the difference that they did not have last year, Chris. They didn't have that combination in the backcourt last year, and that's going to be a difference maker when they play better competition, I believe.
Derek White is affecting everything. The game. Yeah, everything. I mean, this guy, he's making shots. Anytime they need a big shot, he makes it. And like, let's take game one, okay? For example. And so he finishes with 25 points. I mean, 25 points, 5 assists. I mean, that's for him. I can't say anymore. Well, that's good for a guy like that. No, I think we have to start saying now that this is becoming an elite player.
Yeah.
Okay, because the way he handles the ball, the way he calms things down, the way he can make a shot, facilitate, spread the floor, lead the team the way a guard should be leading the team, even more so than Holiday right now.
Well, interestingly enough, but Chris, interestingly enough, they extended Holiday. They haven't done anything with White yet. Maybe they should have did that in the opposite order. Maybe they should have tried to work something. You think it's coming? Yeah.
I do, because I think you can't possibly
let him go.
You can't let that guy go. I mean, he provides so much, and that's one of the differences between last year and this year with Marcus Smart versus Derek White at this point, playing more and having more minutes, Mark. So to me, he's been the MVP of this team through the first
not
and second round.
Not Tatum.
No, we'll talk about
not Tatum and Brown.
I don't think so. I think it's Derek White. And you know what? I think if you ask these guys, I think they're going to tell you that too.
Okay.
That Derek White is playing at a level, when he goes off the court, you can see things happening. You can see things not happening. Okay. But just generally overall, and I agree with you at the bench, Mark. I mean, either Pritchard, Cornette. I mean, talk about him for a minute. I mean, that may not show up in the box score, but the things he's doing, blocks, rebounds, offensive rebounds, tip backs. I mean, he's rotating over really well, right? I mean, without Porzingis, no,
he's an unsung hero,
matters.
Chris. Nobody, no. He's an unsung hero, Chris. Nobody's talking about what he's doing. You know what he's doing, Chris? He's doing the dirty things that no one else wants to do or is going to do, and he's doing it. You know, they used to always say, "Oh, he does." You know, back in the old days, Johnny Most used to say, "He's getting dirty. He's in the gutter." Right? Well, that's what Cornette's doing for you because you got nobody else on the team that's going to do it, and he's doing it, and you need that, Chris.
Tommy Award every night.
Every night.
But yeah, listen, and overall, their defense. Look, the problem you got Donovan Mitchell, who you know, like for example, in game one, what did he go for? He went for
20-something,
33 points.
33.
He went for 33 points. Now look, the problem for Cleveland is, man, he had to work for every one of those 33 points. I mean, by the fourth quarter, he could hardly stand.
And that's White and Holiday, Chris, rotating and playing defense and making him work, like you said, making him work for every point he gets, you know?
Yeah, and the whole team, the team defense that's playing right now. Look, you had a problem in the first quarter of game one. I keep talking about game one because it illustrates a lot of what we're talking about. Cleveland had 8 pointers in that quarter because nobody was closing out. It was kind of reminiscent of one of the games down the stretch where nobody was closing out on threes. Mark, you had a huge issue with that. I forget which game it was, but and then it changed. They started.
That was the Miami playoff game. The only game they lost.
Right, exactly. And they weren't closing out to the 3-pointers. They weren't staying connected. They weren't fighting through screens, going over the screens versus just sneaking underneath it and allowing a clean look for a 3-pointer. And that's what you saw starting to happen in the second quarter. And then that was it. What's happened to Miami is that they're so far in the shot clock. They're so far down in the shot clock, late in the shot clock when they get their first look. You can't play that way. But that's what Boston forces you to do, right?
Yeah, Cleveland has been starting there or getting into some sort of a play late in the shot clock every time down the court, which is defense, right? And the only thing, Chris, and I know we're throwing a lot of praise on the Celtics. The only thing I will say is I still don't like the fact that they take, and I know you don't either, that they're taking so many 3-pointers. They're still taking. And listen, are they making them? Well, yeah. But they're still, for my liking, Chris, they're still taking too many 3-pointers because I don't think they have to with this particular roster and this lineup. I don't think you have to take all those 3-pointers, Chris, to be effective. But they're going to continue to do it. This is the way they play. So we're just going to have to accept it and hope that they continue to hit, even against better competition eventually.
Well, in that first game, they shot 46 of them. They were 39%, which isn't, a huge number, but you'd like to see that cut down by 5 to 10.
Yeah.
I'd like to see 30 because the points in the paint were even. I don't like that. I mean, I want to see more points in the paint. I want to see, but Mark, the ball is hopping. I mean, the ball is hopping. I mean, they're moving the ball and they're all clean looks that they're getting at it. And look, I mean, they're doing what they're supposed to. We'll get to Jason Tatum in a second. I know you got a lot to say on that. But they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're doing what teams should do, good teams should do, which is kicking the living crap out of team that, look, they have how many 4 or 5 20-point wins?
Yes.
Which is like close
Chris,
to a record.
But Chris, they led the league in the regular season in 20-point wins. I think they might have broke I don't know if they set a record.
It was like 30 some odd
in the regular season. Yeah.
And so they're handling their opponents. I mean, they're handling them. Now, let's talk about Tatum for a minute before we get to the pushback against other teams and if that's going to hurt them.
Yep.
So Tatum, so he's not the man in every game. Okay, he's a cog or a part of the machine that's them. Now, all I keep hearing is for them to win a championship, he's going to have to become the man. He's going to have to become the man. I mean, right now you're talking about in the playoffs. His points per game is 21. He's 10 but he's got 10 rebounds, so he's affecting the game in other ways. But 21 a game. His field goal percentage is 40%, which is low for him.
It is.
So does he have to, though? Does he really have to when you now watch this team?
So here's what I was just going to say to you. So the argument right now is they're spreading the ball around. They got multiple guys that can score in different ways. So instead of Tatum having to go off for 40, you got 4 guys now that can score 25 to 30, 25, whatever, right? So you don't need that dominance by him to win. And that is true in the Eastern Conference. But if you run up against a Denver or you run up against a Minnesota or one of those teams, and we've seen this in the past, with 2 minutes to go, you need somebody to be the alpha and say, it's my ball. Let's go. I'm not being denied here. Let's go. This whole, distribute to the hot hand doesn't necessarily work in those situations, Chris. Historically, we've seen it over. Curry did it to him. Last year, I want to say Butler, but it wasn't even Butler. It was Strauss that did it to him in that stupid Miami series, right? Down the stretch. But it was somebody, and we didn't have the guy to match it. But I understand this team is a little different, but I still think there's going to be a game, Chris, a key game in the finals, because I'm going to put them in the finals, where Tatum's going to have to be dominant for them to win the game. And then we'll see what he's made out of. It's going to happen, Chris. It's going to happen against one of those better Western Conference teams.
I agree that it may have to happen. I'm going to push back a little bit on this. The problem is, historically in the NBA, you don't see this. I mean, maybe Toronto was the last time you saw a team collectively be able to win a championship, and that's because there was an injury on the other side. I don't know if it was Durant or whoever, but
Golden State did the year those days when they had Thompson and Durant and Curry and Green and they all scored like 20 a game.
So it can be. I don't have a problem with them winning this way. See, the general thought is it's NBA. I mean, you're going to have a star step up. It's individual. It doesn't have to be. I mean, they're showing. Look, I understand the level of competition improves, and maybe the level of defense improves. But the problem is when for other teams, when you have 5 guys, and they have legitimately 5 guys that can get theirs, I think it's boohoo. I think it's beneficial for them to have the attitude that they're having. And I'll give you one more thing. I've tortured this guy, but I'm going to give Mazzulla some credit now, because what he's been able to do, the way you see that team last year to this year, it's so hard to get NBA players to buy in to this kind of play. I mean, it is. It's the toughest in all sports to get out of individual play. He's been able to get them to do it. He's been able to get them to not care about their numbers. Tatum would never have felt this way a year or two ago, where if the numbers are down, he doesn't sink and get into other places where he can help the team.
Mm-hmm.
But they're doing it, and I got to give Mazzulla credit for this, Mark.
Yeah, I'll give him credit, Chris. I will. I'll give him credit for getting him to buy in. But I'm going to disagree with you. There's going to be a game in the finals where it's going to have to be one guy, not a collective effort, to win a key game. And if they don't have it, there's a problem.
Do you think, and it'll be at the end of a game when it's tight?
Yes.
And that's where they show their Achilles heel.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The end of the game when it's tight.
Both Mazzulla and Tatum. But for another minute, the pushback. So they're not getting a lot.
They're playing the Little Sisters of the Poor.
Well, this is what I'm saying. So how bad of a situation is this? Or are they just playing to a point where it really doesn't make much of a difference the way they're moving the ball, playing defense?
Nah, Krista, whoever comes out of the West is going to be battle tested. And so if you get into a tough, grinded out physical series that's going to go 6 or 7 games, I want to be able to think that they've been tested enough or they're mentally tough enough to do it and to win it. But I don't know, Chris. They haven't been battle tested. I don't know how they react when they get punched in the face, and then they get punched again, and then they get punched again. Now what? I don't know. I don't know.
I think it's going to be Minnesota. I feel about Minnesota the way I felt about Denver at this time last year. That's easy to say when they are in the series, of course, But no, but I did before that. I did before the series began. I told you about Minnesota. So
you might be right.
We'll see. I mean, they're doing what they're supposed to do now, and that's all that can be asked of them. So we'll see what happens.
I will say this, Chris. My prediction was they wouldn't beat Denver. If Denver's not in the final, I think you got a much better shot of winning it. I just don't like the matchup with Denver. I just don't like that matchup because of what Denver brings to the table. I like our matchup against Minnesota, even though Minnesota's a good team. I'd rather have our matchup against Minnesota than Denver.
So, all right, well, we'll see. B's and C's was presented by CORSO Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. CORSOLawGroup.com. Allow us to be your voice. Hey, when we come back, buckle up. It's his birthday. We're going to have a birthday version of Catone's comments right after this.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. CORSO Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Call or go online to CORSOLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help.
Time for Catone's comment!
So listen, I am so sick of these local guys listening to them. If I hear one more guy, they're going to ruin my birthday and they're going to ruin my birthday cake. If I hear one more guy compare Jalen Polk, our second-round draft pick, to Jacoby Meyers, I don't know where they're getting that from. Like, a couple of high-ranking NFL executives said he's Jacoby Meyers. What tape are they actually watching? Number one, what film are they watching? Because I want to know who these guys are and how they got jobs. Because they need to go sign Chris and I. I don't know what the hell they're watching. Listen, Jalen Polk, and it's driving me nuts. That's why I got to talk about it. Jalen Polk is not Jacoby Meyers. Jacoby Meyers was an undrafted free agent who became a 3-4 receiver. That's all he was. That's all he was. Listen, Jalen Polk is 6'1", 203 pounds. The kid is decent size for an NFL receiver. He's the same size. I'm not saying he's the same player. He's the same size as Chris Godwin. He's the same size as Jerry Jeudy. He's almost the same size as DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins about 10 pounds heavier. All DeAndre Hopkins is 6'1". Polk is the same size as those guys, not Jacoby Meyers. Those guys. That's who he's the same size of. Jacoby Meyers didn't run a 4.5 240. And Polk's game speed is better than that. You know who ran a 4.5 240? C.D. Lamb, 4.5 140. He ran. Devontae Adams, 4.56 he ran. Devontae Adams, 4.56. Devontae Smith from the Philly, 4.54 40. That's all he ran. Everyone thinks, he's lightning quick. No, he's game speed quick. He's game speed quick. He has an extra burst in game speed is what he has. That's not Jacoby Meyers. The last time I checked, that's not Jacoby Meyers. Maybe I'm confused. Listen, Polk is going to be a multiple role type of receiver. Is it going to be a Z receiver to start? Yeah, more than likely. But we talked about last week what he excelled at, the routes that he excels at, the body control, the types of things that he does. Jacoby Meyers does not do that. Listen, if you really watch the tape, he does, and I'm not saying he's him. I'm not saying this, but he does a lot of the things that Nakua from the Rams did when he was in college. That's what Polk did in college, okay? I'm not saying that's who Polk is going to be, but that's the type of routes he ran in college, and he has the same type of speed going into the NFL. He's not Jacoby Meyers. I'm going to keep repeating that to you. He is not. Who in their right mind said this kid is Jacoby Meyers? The more I look at tape, because I had to go back now, I heard this like 3 times again this week, and I said, you know what, let me go back and watch more tape on him. Maybe I missed something, because I don't see Jacoby Myers. Okay, the kid's got a finishing ability at the catch point. His route running. It's not Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers was on a practice squad. I know what he developed into, but that's still not what Jacoby Myers can do or does. This kid's gonna be a solid number 2 receiver. This kid's gonna the potential. I think his ceiling is he's gonna have multiple 1,000 yards years, receiving yard years with Drake May. That's what I truly believe. I truly believe that with this kid. And you know what else I believe? I believe Javon Baker has the potential to be a number 1 receiver. I really do. The more and more I'm watching his tape, do I want them to go get a number 1 receiver, bona fide number 1 receiver? Absolutely, I do. Absolutely. But Javon Baker does have the potential. Whether he hits that ceiling or not, I don't know. The last thing I got to touch on is Drake May. Because I'm listening to people talk about, well, you should have taken that package and traded down because you could have still gotten something else. You could have taken, you could have moved up and taken the quarterback that the quarterback from Washington. Maybe you could have taken McCarthy, but you would have had picks and you could have done other things. Listen, Drake May, okay, he does things that those quarterbacks don't do. I'm sick of people saying he makes every throw. I think, all these guys make every throw. Listen, if you spread out 15 trash cans throughout a field, there's a lot of quarterbacks that could probably hit the 15 trash cans. But can they compete making those throws? Can they compete making those throws? And what do I mean by compete? There's somebody falling at their legs. There's somebody rushing them up the middle. There's somebody coming off the edge. Can they compete under pressure and make those throws? That's what makes a quarterback. Not, he can make every throw. I'm so sick of that during draft time. He makes every throw. Can he make every throw under duress? That's what I want to know. Can he do that? Because the kid from Washington folded up like an accordion in the game against Michigan. And I liked Penix. But against Michigan, he showed me something. He folded up. And he had some of the best wide receivers in the country. And he folded up. I know Drake May struggled a bit this year with lack of talent around him. However, the kid can compete. The kid can move out of the pocket. Sometimes I know Chris and I talked about he moves out of the pocket too quickly. It doesn't sit and wait for something to open up. But the bottom line is the kid's trying to create something. When something is facing him, he reads it. Does he jump out of the pocket too soon? Yeah, he's going to learn that. I get that. But the kid can try to create a play. He can throw the ball to a sideline when the receiver's not there yet because he can throw with timing. And that's the strength of guys like Polk. Polk's going to feed to Drake May's strengths. So I'm sick of people saying, well, I don't know about Drake May. Listen, go watch the tape. Drake May was the second best quarterback in that draft. I would predict he was better just on a talent standpoint than Daniels. He was the second best quarterback in that draft after Williams. Now, are they going to become stars? A lot plays into that. However, as I started to listen more about Drake May, that kind of upset me as well. And it's my birthday. I don't want to be upset, but I don't want to hear any more about Jacoby Myers. And I don't want to hear any more about, Drake May, he can make the throws, but listen, go watch the tape of the kid's junior year when the kid had some talent around him. Go watch those tapes and watch what that kid did. The footwork. If you're an NFL coach and you can't fix what's wrong with it, Bill Belichick, his footwork, some of the worst I've ever seen. You're talking from the 1960s, Bill. You're talking from the 1960s. Any good offensive coach will fix that footwork. It's nothing that bad. You had a bum quarterbacking for 3 years, a bum, Mac Jones. You're talking about Drake May's footwork? Are you kidding me? Really? You had Cam Newton. He looked like he belonged in high school. He couldn't throw the ball more than 10 yards. You had him as your starting quarterback. So I'm sick of listening to Bill, too. Oh, the footwork. Shut up, Bill. You're on a couch watching television. You don't even have a job. So I don't want to hear about Bill anymore either. Listen, this kid, Jalen Polk, he's not Jacoby Myers. He's not.
He's in full birthday form.
Oh, yeah.
The birthday boy is just on fire. Mark, listen. And the other thing with May is, he's 21, 22,
Yes.
whatever. 21, going to be 22. The best thing that can happen to this kid is sit him down, because the cerebral part of the game now, this is going to be up to his QB coach, his OC. How's he going to study?
Yep.
Because he won't abandon the pocket the more he learns, the more he studies, the more he sees, the more he experiences. He won't abandon that pocket the way he's doing. And I agree with you 100% on Polk. And the thing that those guys had, the guys you mentioned, Adams and CD Lamb and Hopkins, the guys that run that 4.5 and in that range with the similar size, they also have catch radius like Polk. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
So when you talk about these receivers, it's how they're paired up, just like Mark said. How are you paired up with your quarterback? What are you bringing out of your quarterback? What's the quarterback bringing out of you? And
it's no coincidence that the two guys they drafted in Baker and Polk fit. You said it 2 weeks ago. They fit exactly what May's strengths are.
The
two guys they
like
drafted.
You said, catch radius, because May doesn't have to be as accurate if he's going to throw on the run, because those guys their catch radius is much greater than Jacoby Meyers. It's a much greater. And as far as contested balls go, I'm going to take Polk over Meyers with a contested ball all day long. Now, there's not saying there's anything wrong with Meyers.
No,
but don't also sleep on the fact that he played. You said when you get to Oakland or Vegas, and he shined. Yeah, who's he playing opposite against? He's playing opposite.
Supposedly a true number one. Supposedly, right?
Well, supposedly one of the best quarterbacks in football, wide receivers in football, in Devontae Adams. So let's see. You're right. Let's see what happens. But yeah, I'll be happy.
Chris,
I don't
these
like
guys, these local guys. I don't know these local guys, Chris. They even know what they're talking about.
No, I don't.
Why don't they come on CORSO and Catone and spend about a half hour with us?
They can't handle that. They can't handle that. Look, and by the way, those take that deal from it. They were all a bunch of, nobody understands. There were a bunch of pick swaps in there too. So you want to give me the 11th, you want to give me the 23rd, you want to give me a first round next year, but you want to swap all the rest of my picks this year? No, get out of here. You want Drake May? Give me Jefferson and I'll do the pick swaps too. Okay, now we're talking. Don't give me this. I'll give you the 3 picks and then, stuff that you already have. No, I don't. I'm good with that. So Mark's right, Joe. Mark is correct. And, again, he is in rare birthday form.
He's mostly right a lot of the times.
So we have to say that, don't we, today?
Well, no, I'm saying.
Well, today you can say it, at least today. Chris.
Oh, we got to give him all his props and everything else.
No, I just got aggravated, Chris, when I heard what people were saying still this week.
No, I agree.
It's ridiculous. It really is.
I agree. Yeah, and I agree with you on that.
I had to address it.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit. So good stuff, Mark. Catone's Comments was presented by CORSO and Catone, noon to 1 p.m. Easterns every Saturday. Sponsorships are there available. Email us, corso.catone@gmail.com. Hey, when we come back, we're going to go in the nation. Pat's Nation is next.
Mark, I'm serious. I think I lost my mind.
Certainly, it was an exciting show.
I want Murray.
That's
it.
What is wrong with you?
Get him on this damn show.
You lost your mind tonight.
That's all I have to say.
Lost your mind.
What are you writing now?
So I'm working over here. You're talking about nonsense. I'm working.
That's why we are the real deal New England Field. It's going to be real.
Back in with CORSO and Catone. Oh, yeah, it is. It is real. It is real. So, roasting the birthday boy today. There's somebody else that got roasted last week. We got to talk about that. We're going to do it in Pat's Nation. We're going to do it now. No holds barred, Mark, in this roast. So Brady had that roast last week. I think they felt like 18,000 people were there or something like that. Never seen anything like that in a roast.
No.
So I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was
great. I thought it was great.
Nothing was off the table. Nothing.
No. Nope.
It sort of reminded you without the language and those old Dean Martin celebrity roasts. Okay,
I was waiting for Dean Martin. I was waiting for Dean Martin to come out of the back.
No, I thought Rickles was going to come out. It was going to rise and then say this is what I had in mind, because you never thought you'd see anything like that again.
No.
Yeah.
Now they didn't have the bad language. Obviously, back then they didn't need it. Those guys were giants, but nobody was safe.
No,
I mean these guys went race. They went, talking about gay, talking about trans, Jewish. They even showed a picture of Hitler, Mark. On the screen.
Yeah, I don't know. They were out of control. It was out of control. Totally
White,
out of
black,
control.
it didn't make a difference. Hamas, they talked about Giselle, they talked about his personal life, and to say nothing of the vulgarities. You see Gronk?
Oh, the vulgarity was awful. Oh, it was out of control. The vulgarity was out of control.
What stood out? Who would you like in this?
So, a couple of guys I liked, Chris. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought, as far as the comedians went, I thought the blonde girl,
Ricky Glazer, she was fantastic.
I had never heard her before. Chris, she was absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. Right? You know who surprised me?
Bledsoe.
Was Drew Bledsoe. Surprised me. He was a little nervous at the beginning, right? Obviously. But he surprised me, Chris. I didn't think he had it, because he's a little dry and stiff. I didn't think he had it in him. But he did a great job roasting. And he was even making fun of himself a little bit. But he did a great job, because then as the show went on, people kept giving it to him too. And he sat there, he laughed. He thought it was hilarious, right?
Yeah.
I thought he did a good job. And of course, Gronk is just out of his mind. Gronk is out of his mind, Chris. Right?
Nobody got tortured more than he did.
No. Out of his mind.
They called me Gronk, and Jeff Ross gets up and says, "We're at the forum today," which is the way Gronk counts. 4 5 I thought it was fantastic, and Kevin Hart, Joe. I mean,
what a great job. He did a great job. I mean, first of all, like you said, though, I agree with you. It did feel like for a second, like an old roast, like a good roast when he came out, and the way he came out, and then also lying down the rules of nothing matters, anything goes.
Yeah, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, that sort of made the difference, and he was good at doing all of that. I think he did a hell of a job.
Chris, how about Bill Belichick's line?
Yeah, so talking about the players, okay, you talked about Drew Bledsoe a little bit. He was fantastic, But then, listen, and the respect level too. I mean, when he came out, that joint all stood, and even their former players and everything, and you could see that he and Brady are fine.
Oh, him and Brady are fine. Sure.
I mean, they did that shot thing of Gronk. I mean, Gronk was falling all over himself, but you made them do the shot. But I thought Belichick was fantastic, Mark.
Yeah.
It almost seemed like for a second, though, after watching that, it almost seemed like the bad blood isn't really between them. It seemed like it might actually be between them and Kraft.
Well, we'll get to Bill and Bob in a second.
But how about his line, Chris?
Yeah.
Of the roast, and we're here to roast Tom.
Yeah.
And
that was the first thing he said.
That was his opening line,
what
right?
did he say? Yeah.
He came out and said, I know we're all here to roast Tom. He said, but I got roasted pretty good myself. He said,
on that 10-part series, he said.
On a 10-part Apple episode, he makes reference to the dynasty right out of the gate.
Oh, that was beautiful, because he got his ass kicked in that.
Sure he did.
And he knew it. He saw it. For all those who said, does he care? Oh, he cared.
Oh, he cared. When that was his opening line of the night, he cared.
And then talking about what he talked about, everybody asked, was it Brady? Was it me? Was it Tom? Was it me? He said, it was both of us, but because of me.
Yeah. That was a little, and that was a little bit of his ego coming. Hey, Tom, I put us in that position, Tom.
But it was even better. It was when Gronk came up and said, "Oh, you know what? You guys are the only guys who did it."
Yeah. Because those guys always take offense to that too. Say, "Whoa, you two are the only people here?" I mean, on those teams. I mean, what the hell? So they all had a great time. The most satisfaction I got from Bill okay, when Belichick was up there, was how he ripped Amendola. I mean, he tore him up. It was beautiful. And that clown was sitting in the back over there with all those linemen. He kind of looked like a little kid, like it was one of their sons or something sitting next to him, Danny Amendola. And he actually turned finally. Said, "Hey, I see all the guys up here." Matt Light tells him, and then he tells Amendola, Mark, he says, "Yeah, Danny Amendola came to us in 2014. That year he had 200 yards total reception, 200 total yards. And then the next year he had 250. Or he said, let me put it another way, a good first half for Randy Moss."
Well, because Amendola has not spoken too highly of Bill since he's left, right? So,
Yeah. And I thought the comedians were good, but talk and then talking about Bill versus Bob. And I know this is cutting into some of the heated hotline, but Mark, Joe, you talking about Bob Kraft and Bill Belichick.
But when the comedian asked
Jeff
them to
Ross.
come up and do, Jeff says,
"Oh,
come
no,
up and do a
you're
shot,
right. It was Hart. It was Kevin Hart. Yeah,
right?" And Kraft runs up there, and Bill's just like raising his glass, like, "Yeah, here." Like Bill's not
didn't drink
up.
it.
But he wasn't even getting out of his seat at first. He was just holding up the glass he had in his hand, and he was like raising it. And then they made him get up. He didn't drink the shot, and I don't know if he's a big drinker or not. But then Kraft makes a complete.
Well, he drank it with Tom. He drank it with Brady earlier.
He did drink it with Tom. But then Kraft, I thought, made a complete fool of himself, Chris, by saying, "The two greatest things that ever happened to me in my life were Bill Belichick and Tom Brady." What are you talking about? You just bashed this guy on that stupid thing you had produced. And now you're saying that. And Belichick kind of turned away from him as he's saying it.
Yeah,
like he
away.
had, you know what I mean? He walked away.
Because, Mark, listen, I don't think – and you could talk about the Edelman podcast in a second, what happened with Bledsoe was on. But, listen, I don't think Bill, in all honesty, I don't think that he's upset at the fact that he got canned, because he's a smart enough, football enough guy to know this team sucked. I effed up. I gambled wrong and I lost. Somebody's got to go down for this, and it's going to be me. What breaks his bean is the fact that the behind the back crap, the stuff with Atlanta, he and Kraft and Blank, and that 10-pot series really went up his ass, especially given the fact that it was being made while he was still the coach.
Yeah, it was bad.
And I think that's what did it. I don't think you'll ever see him in Foxborough again.
No, you won't. You won't. And I don't know what I just don't know what Kraft's
I don't blame him either.
No, I don't blame him. I don't know what Kraft's intent was with that dynasty thing. None of the players liked it. I just don't get it, Chris. And then Bledsoe's on Julian Edelman's podcast this week, and I think it was Monday, right after the roast, and they're talking about they're in the green room before they step on stage before the event starts, and Belichick walks in and he's holding court with all the ex-players, and it's him and it's Moss and it's Brady and Gronk, and Bill's telling old war stories about what he did to the rookies, and everyone's laughing and joking. And then all of a sudden Kraft walks in the back of the room, and Edelman said, "I'm kind of trying to give Bill like
Bob's
somebody, Bob's here, right?" And Bill's just keeps going on, and then slowly players started walking over to say hello to Mr. Kraft, and he said, Drew went over, and I think Tom went over, and then eventually, Bill turns around and he's like, "Oh," and bolts it out. Like he said, you could cut the tension with a knife in the room. The animosity, he said, it was so obviio and so uncomfortable. So that's Bob's fault, Chris. Come on.
That's Kraft's fault all day long. That's Kraft's fault. And I thought to end it, I thought Tom was good. He sounded pompous and arrogant and all that, but I love the comment about, hey, since I left, how many rings have you won? And he said, everybody wants to know who it was. F that. Does anybody care about who gassed up the Ferrari, who gassed up the IndyCar winner? No, like they care about the driver. So I thought Brady was good, and he got busted bad. I mean, he got his beans broke about his divorce, and
Giselle made some comments since then saying that it was inappropriate and to do that to her family and blah 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 blah.
Well, maybe you know what? Next time, maybe you shouldn't. Yeah, next time, maybe you shouldn't. Bang the karate instructor then instead. Don't do that then. Don't do that behind the guy's back.
What is
and then you
wrong
won't
with
have
his-
to listen to it. Tell her to
Joe.
shut her mouth, too. Go take another karate lesson.
Joe, what is wrong with his language tonight, Joe?
Go take I'm in full birthday roast form.
Jesus.
Here, but I thought it was good. Listen, you had to have the stomach for it. Obviously it was vulgar. It was this and that. I mean, it was a little too long. They could have cut out some things, but just real quick before we get to Heated Hotline, because some of the people are criticizing. We even had a couple of messages on this. Why did he do it? Why did he have to do it? You didn't see Jordan do this. You didn't see Gretzky do this. You didn't see. Why did Tom do this? Does it tarnish him at all? I mean,
I don't think it tarnishes him. If anything, Chris, I think it adds to the legacy of this is the greatest player that ever played a sport. Everybody was
do
laughing,
anything.
joking. Yeah, absolutely. It adds to his stardom.
I could do anything I want, still come out smelling like a rose.
Yep.
That's good. Well, listen, we enjoyed it. I know it was an acquired taste, but you and I, what the hell?
My son was texting me. He loved it. The whole show he's texting me.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, Joe, we'll do a show. We'll do a roast of Mark one of these days. We'll get some people to come on and do it. So good stuff. Good stuff. Pat's Nation was presented by CORSO Law Group, CORSOLawGroup.com. Maybe we come back on here from one of you in Heated Hotline. No flipping.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. CORSO Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. Whether it's a traffic ticket or more serious issue, talk with these expert attorneys. CORSOLawGroup.com.
Back in with more Corso and Catone. So listen, we want to hear from one of you. Again, we're up against it. So I want to hear from one of you in Heated Hotline, Joe.
Yeah, this one comes straight from the mailbag, and I thought it was good because this is Sal. He writes, "Hey guys, it's Sal from Providence. Huge Red Sox fan, but I gotta say I'm sick of all the positive vibes surrounding this team. Let's be honest, that's what John Henry wants for the cheap roster he put together. Okay, the starting pitching is better than expected, but look at their schedule. They might be a 500 team at best. And I just want to say, wake up, Red Sox fans. This team isn't good and is not even close to being contenders." I figured.
All right, so Mark, all he cares about is the regular season. Be 500, keep the people interested. Mark, you comment.
And that's all this team. And that's all this team is, Chris. They're sitting at 19 and 18. We're almost 40 games in. You're 19 and 18. And Sal's right. If you look at who they've played, Chris, most of their wins have come against teams that are under 500. They might only have 3 or 4 wins against teams with winning records. So, and they're playing another team coming up this weekend with a losing record, 500 record. They'll win games against Washington. And that's all that's who they play, Chris. Chris Sale strikes out 10 guys the other night. He shuts them out. Did he stick it to them with the Braves the other night? I'm back. He's 5-1. He's flourishing. Why? Because you wanted the nickel and dime and save a few dollars? Listen, Sal's 100% right. They're a 500 team. John Henry's doesn't care. The seats are filled every night, Chris. The organization is right now is like a disgrace.
80 to 84 wins.
That's all, Chris. That's all.
And conversely,
the Yankees are in first place. Conversely, and they've played a better schedule than the Red Sox. Like Red Sox have played. They've played better teams up to this point. I know they just played Houston. Houston's not doing well right now, but the Yankees have played a tougher schedule. So when the Yankees get to the softer part of the schedule that the Red Sox have had early, they're probably going to extend their win, how many games they're up on the Red Sox. But the Yankees, Chris, are going to be in contention all year for the division. And at very worst, they should probably be a wild card, I would think, at worst.
So you heard it from the birthday boy. Sal, thank you for the email. We always appreciate that. So, hey, listen, stick around. But Corso and Catone was presented by CORSO Law Group. Hey, get on. All our shows are up for you. Subscribe and come back next week, noon to 1 Eastern. Celtics, Bruins, playoffs. Let's hope the Bruins are still in it, Mark. My God,
I hope so.
Schizophrenic. So, and hey, anything you bring to the table, we will be ready. We are Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. Happy birthday, Mark.
Thank you.
Now by CORSO and Catone on AM 790, The Score, iHeartRadio, iTunes, wherever you podcast. or subscribe to the YouTube channel and catch the chaos every Saturday at noon.